So we're back, Writing on Air 2023. The last day, the final day, coming up to the final, probably the final few of our 76 programmes that we've been broadcasting over the last 10 days or so. So earlier in the afternoon, we had a fantastic writing workshop with Hannah Stone and Clare Wigzell. It really was lovely, called The Silence of Aloneness. I got into it perhaps a little too much. I found it hard to climb out of it again and be my public self. But it was great. And we did some writing, and we're going to be hearing some writing now from that workshop. So I'm going to hand you over to Clare.
Hello, thank you. I'm Clare Wigzell, and I'm a poet and a Quaker. Silence is very important to me in my life. It's important for my creative process. It's important for my state of mind. And in my Quakerism, to go and be in a room with other people and share a silence that thickens, grows, and helps us to go beyond our egos, beyond ourselves, to let go of all those parts of the world, to let go of our worries, to let go of things in our mind, to get somehow beyond to something bigger that's there for all of us. It's where we've come from and where we'll go to. So in this feedback from our workshop, there will be silences. So even though we know this is radio, don't turn off. We're still here. So we hope that around each poem there'll be a bit of quiet, and that quiet will allow you to let the thoughts and the ideas in the poem settle inside you. So this is going to be a slow broadcast. I shall start by reading the Khalil Gibran from the Prophet on talking. And then a scholar said, "Speak of talking." And he answered, saying, "You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. For thought is a bird of space that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings, but cannot fly. There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. The silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. And there are those who talk, and without knowledge or forethought reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. And there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. In the bosom of such as these, the spirit dwells in rhythmic silence. When you meet your friend on the roadside or in the marketplace, let the spirit in you move your lips and direct your tongue. Let the voice within your voice speak to the ear of his ear. For his soul will keep the truth of your heart as the taste of the wine is remembered when the colour is forgotten and the vessel is no more. Hannah Stone, would you like to come and join me?
Thank you, Claire. It was a great pleasure to run this workshop, which perversely for a broadcast arts festival focused on silence as a prompt. And inevitably, perhaps because Claire is a Quaker and because I've had some sort of religious dalliances in the past, we thought about silence partly in terms of the possibility it had for knitting together the different parts of the human person, the spiritual or non-physical with the physical. And how, if we're thinking about missing, what is missing in silence is the presence of something else. And I wanted to read a poem that we didn't actually use within the workshop, although it was there as a possible resource, because it's one of my favourite poems and because it says a great deal about silence. And we're going to use some other poems, both ones that arose from the workshop and others that we had around if people wanted to use them as prompts to write from during their period of silence. I should say we had about 20 minutes of silence in the workshop in which people wrote. And the other thing I will point out is that I am losing my voice, so there may be a little bit more silence than we had intended. This is a poem by the great Welsh English poet R.S. Thomas called Kneeling. Moments of great calm, kneeling before an altar of wood in a stone church in summer, waiting for the God to speak, the air a staircase for silence, the sun's light ringing me as though I acted a great role. And the audience is still, all that close throng of spirits waiting as I for the message. Prompt me, God, but not yet. When I speak, though it be you who speak through me, something is lost. The meaning is in the waiting. A lot of our writing that we produced seemed to focus on how we enjoyed silence when we were in nature. And another prompt that we had, and something which we did introduce into the workshop, was from the American 19th century transcendentalist Thoreau, who went to Walden to live by a pond for 2 years or so on his own. I mean, I say on his own, but he was fairly comfortably housed, and whenever he wanted to, he could make his way into the nearby town of Concord. But we just mention these words because they link to some of the writing that came next. And this is from the section called Where I Lived and What I Lived For. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. So we are going to now consider the work that came out of the workshop, and Clare is going to talk a little bit about that, and then we have our very own Peter, the amazing, inspiring spirit behind Chapel FM and Director of Words, I think your title is, which is the most amazing words. But Peter really enjoyed not having too many words and having some silence. So over to Clare, and then we'll hear Peter read.
What a great time of year this is for silence. We have snow, we have cold, we have darkness. Let us embrace it. During the workshop, we're sitting in a room, a very beautiful room, but so many people, when they went off to write, wrote about being in nature. Over to you then, Pete.
Yes, I've done a lot of relating to people recently, which I do, but also I really need to be on my own.
quite a lot. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of that quiet soon. So I want to be crunching along a half-frozen mud path on the moor above Scrike's Wood, towards the two towers, towards the cliff, views out across Nidderdale, towards Brimham, Pateley underneath. That's it. That will do it. I don't need 2 weeks of it, just a day, a morning even. I am easily restored with the right kind of solitude, an ample gift of sky and the space between hills. Almost the imagining is enough, but not enough. I want to be walking up a path, mud crunching up the hill on the moor above Scrike's Wood. That's it. That will be enough.
In our workshop, we had many birds that came to visit us. So interesting that sometimes there isn't complete silence, but there is quiet, but with bird song. I'm going to read you May Sarton's poem called Beyond the Question. The phoebe sits on her nest hour after hour, day after day, waiting for life to burst out from under her warmth. Can I weave a nest for silence, weave it out of listening, listening layer upon layer? But one must first become small, nothing but a presence, attentive as a nesting bird, proffering no slight wish, no tendril of a wish toward anything that might happen or be given. Only the warm, faithful waiting contained in one's smallness, beyond the question, the silence, beyond the answer, the silence. Jackie Burton, from our workshop, also found herself craving to be in nature. This is what she wrote. Living near or in a city is not where I feel whole. The edges of green often pulling me. The desire to gulp air, feel freedom and space, to clear my thoughts and crunch feet on a woodland trail, to climb a crag and gaze at panoramic views, to feel myself small, my life, my worries less looming, less significant. Last week, we walked at dusk, the kids running ahead, chasing adventure, and we all sat on the rocks above, drinking hot chocolate, as darkness crept. My daughter became scared, alarmed at the vulnerability she felt. We trudged back in the dark when we all heard it, unmistakable, the loud hoot of an owl, and then again. And once more, we all felt the magic, the fun of being in nature, in the dusk, no one but us. This is what I crave, where everyone is free from demands, from tech, from being busy. We just are. Jackie had used one of the poems we'd have out as a prompt, so I shall read you the prompt that she used. It's called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, the family of things. Hannah and I also were visited by birds during the workshop. So Hannah will now read hers about the blackbird.
That Mary Oliver poem is so very hard to follow because it's just so perfect, and it's a poem that I really love. When I'm invited to do a free write or to contribute as a participant in a workshop, I find it extremely difficult to perform. And I start by writing all sorts of random stuff. I think Clare would call it free writing, which is a good thing to do. But I always feel a bit that I've not obeyed the rules. And I was whittering on in my notebook about how we become most clearly ourselves when we strip back and remove the layers that separate us from animals and maybe take off some sort of layers of skin or some clothes, and that we need to strip ourselves off the apparently sophisticated construct of human speech. Anyway, having got that out of my system, I then thought about what I've been looking at during the morning when I was resting up, trying to get my voice back. And it's a phenomenon that happens for about a week every winter, when all of a sudden there are loads, maybe 7 or 8, 9 blackbirds eating the windfall apples. And I connected that to the phrase we had earlier from Kilal Gibran about the cage of words. I should explain that my poems in workshops are very, very rudimentary, and this may not be finished, if it ever is, for many months or even years. So that's fine. Birds of space, wintering. Starting in the sullen brightness of overnight snow that slumps beneath the dull sky, the sun absenting itself even from its short shrift, the blackbirds break out of the cage of words to feed on apples humans have disdained. Their soundless appeal to other birds, to flock, to fatten, to brace themselves for the coming night of winter, till the whitened grass is peppered with dark shapes, imprinting the garden space with wild silences, with wordless messages, making something whole that was fragmented. So those were some blackbirds in lead 7, and Claire's now going to take us into a murmuration of starlings.
Poetry. Markings on the page, a murmuration of starlings, each one hot and breathing, feathers shimmering oil, holding their place, feeling the beat of others' wings, sensing when to turn, swoop, soar, then land out of the winter's sky. We'd like to invite James to come and read us his poem about a sprite that arrived. Would you like to introduce yourself, James?
Hello, I am a writer called James. I am not known for my silence. I would like to work on this. And this creature came out of the silence. Little me, blue creature, long, large red eyes, spikes, and a lip-shaped head, laughing aloud like a maniacal kid. Such a strange thing to dream, to daydream, how exhausted must I have been. What story did you want to tell? Did you come from a fairy tale book or freakish hell? You blue creature, you, little me. Shuffling sounds and violins in the distance, the hum of an idling engine's sound, the silence, that suspense is deafening. At least it is only a daydream, creature blue with spikes and red eyes, little me. Thank you. And up next we have an equally wonderful poet, Emmy.
Hello, my name's Emmy. I love the way you say my name. I love the way you don't. I love the quiet gestures. You know it's what I want. I love the way you kiss my head. I love your shining smile. I love when you leave me in peace, even if just for a while. I love the way you take my hand. I love everything you do. I guess the thing I'm trying to say is how much I love you.
We're so very pleased that Emmy read that for us. You would not have guessed from that polished performance, it's only the second time she's ever read in public, the first time being on Friday when we had the launch of the anthology. Friday last week. Gosh, is that 10 days ago? Goodness me. And it's really lovely when people come and do that. And it takes a lot of courage. And we feel quite, I think, blessed and privileged when people share themselves in that way. Emmy wrote also a lovely poem about silence during the workshop. She was extremely productive. She also finished another poem she'd been working on, but that's not for today. And she asked me if I would read her other poem. Silence. It's never silent. Other people make noise even when they try not to. A muffled cough, a laugh from down the street, a page turning, silence. It's never silent. Even animals make noise, even when they try not to. the flap of a wing, a growl from the neighbour's dog, a purring cat. Silence. It's never silent. Even objects make noise. They don't even try not to. The hum of the fridge, music from far away, a phone buzzing. Silence. It's never silent. Life is loud.
We've had such a good afternoon. As Hannah said, it's a privilege to spend time with other people, to facilitate a space where they can go into themselves and produce such amazing work. I wish you all over the festive season sometimes of quiet and solitude. And I shall finish with another poem called The Timeless Hour by Clive Sansom. And this is from a poetry anthology called A Speaking Silence, which is of Quaker poets. The Timeless Hour. Let action go, and with it all the thought of action. Even when the world is racked, it may be worthier to refrain from action than it is to act. Forget the world 1 hour. When you return, its beauty will be there, its tragedy. And though the past and future shake their chains, the now is free. Think yourself out of thinking. Exorcise even that ghost of thought, the echoing word, till in the haunted chamber of the brain no sound is heard. Then, when its windows open on a world beyond the world, when all its walls are dumb, into the silent room, the wordless mind, the word may come. Thank you.
And it just remains for us to say a very big thank you to Chapel FM, to Peter and all the staff for hosting us so beautifully and for creating this amazing festival. We hope you haven't missed the world too much in the last 45 minutes or so while you've been listening to our poetry. Do keep coming to Chapel FM and participating in all the amazing opportunities to be with people and then to go home and reflect on it in silence and maybe do some more writing. Thank you very much for coming and listening to us and participating today. And we wish you a very peaceful evening.